seen. You know, the repetition, you know, not only given that particular terrain, you know, looking at it from Benue and other places, looking at it from Nasarawa and looking at it from other perspectives, and even down south here, you'll understand that there is something which is really national and it is of interest. But more to it, to me, you know, is the issue of how it is not well administrated. You know, given the fact that this is something that is a flashpoint matter, and the natives there have native information, they have native intelligence, you know, they have native, you know, briefings to give, and they've written. Some of us have been engaged, you know, in writing and calling the attention of even security personnel, telling them that this thing is going to come about this season or the other. Take note and do that which is right. But the outright failure to do that until the calamity comes up is usually the issue. And I believe that if we go it that way, we're going to spend the rest of our lives seeing this as a new wave of another calamity that is worse than terrorism everywhere in the whole world because of the lives of the people that are involved in it.
Can we just step back a bit? You said if we ask you to give us 30 years, you can actually enumerate what's happened in 30 years. In the last 30 years, the different ethnic groups, and I use the word advices, different ethnic groups have been able to live together in Taraba. So what is it that might have caused that breakdown of that living together?
You know, comfortably, I'll tell you that the state used to be Gongola, now divided to be Adamawa and Taraba. And of interest, we are the highest linguistic composition in the whole world. You can talk about 70 to about 80 ethnic groups, you know, on that terrain, you know, you call Adamawa State specifically. And I don't think we've had any problem because we would have been having, you know, clusters and clashes, you know, interlinking and breaking down people. But they've lived effectively, and I can comfortably tell you that some of them have even shared gods, traditions, and festivals. Good enough to tell you that peace, obviously, have been existing in that particular terrain. Now, Numan, where I come from, is of political interest to Nigeria. So now that I am telling you, we've had a case where a Hausa man, by ethnicity, somebody who comes in to settle, have become even the chairman of my own local government, where people are now making all the rubbish and the noise about. It's the most tolerant political environment you can find. We've had a situation where we've had an Orobo man became councillor, and an Igbo man became a councillor in Numan. So to tell you that that environment is friendly, you know, it's worth nothing. The members of my ethnic group, for instance, almost 30% of them are Muslims. They are on the other side of the linguistic divide. Now, maybe you can just comfortably say that about 70% of them are Christians. We've had situations. Personally, I have cousins that are Muslims. Comfortably, they come into my house, they eat, we relate. My friends are all over. So to talk about religion coming in and somebody giving it that coloration, I think it's the bad management of leadership somewhere and allowing the factor to override issues, to make it create panic, you know, in the minds of people. We know what we pass through, trying to calm people, to understand exactly what it takes in our own environment to stay together. This thing is not religious. This thing is not ethnic. This thing has something to do, you know, with a mitigated attack planned somewhere and well coordinated. As a matter of fact, when you look at it, you know, first it's economic, and then it runs out to turn to be something that is having the shades of religious
appropriation. Because some people will disagree with you. For instance, if you say that it doesn't have a religious inclination to it. If you date back to 1804, we did have this crisis about herdsmen and farmers up north, especially in Benue State, and a lot of lives were lost. So it graduated to a point where it became a jihadist war. And there are threats right now that it could go that way as well. So if you'd say that it doesn't have a religious inclination, would you be completely right about that?
You know, I want to make that emphasis in the light of my own responsibility as a Nigerian to have a hope. But you cannot really have a responsibility to talk about issues that have to do with national security without making reference to history. You will understand that when you even take a casual look at Nigerian history, particularly the history of the jihads, you'll get to know that Usman Dan Fodio, who came into Hausa land largely, which is well painted, is somebody that took over their rulership, and that now you can see and comfortably say that you will go to Kano, for instance, you will have people that are ethnic nationalities, you know, that are Hausas, but then the traditional rulers are Fulani. However they get to get that done, well, it's their own arrangement. Sokoto is virtually the same thing. And in other places, you know, with more colorations and shades of things that actually don't matter. coming out to be as if they are. For instance, now, if I give you a scenario, and I asked you, who is the Lamido of Adamawa, for instance, you will have an assumption that it's coming from a history where a particular ruler